Welcome to the Athletic Arena, where we tackle the tough topics in sports. Today, we're diving into a conversation that's become increasingly prominent and, frankly, quite sensitive: the fairness and safety of transgender athletes competing in women's sports. It's a discussion with many layers, touching on science, ethics, inclusion, and the very definition of women's sports. We want to approach this with nuance and understanding.
Exactly. Our goal today isn't to take a definitive stance, but rather to explore the various implications, particularly focusing on the experiences and opportunities for cisgender women in sports. We'll be looking at the biological factors, the arguments for inclusion, the fairness concerns, safety issues, and the potential impact on scholarships and career paths.
So, let's start by grounding ourselves in some of the fundamental biological differences that are at the heart of this debate. When we talk about biological differences between males and females, particularly as they relate to athletic performance, puberty is a critical factor. Puberty in males leads to significant changes driven by testosterone: increased bone density, greater muscle mass, larger lung capacity, and higher red blood cell counts. These are all traits that confer a distinct athletic advantage.
That's right. And the science suggests that even after hormone therapy to reduce testosterone levels, some of these advantages conferred by male puberty may persist. Studies have indicated that reductions in strength, speed, and endurance are often incomplete, and the gap between transgender women and cisgender women, on average, remains substantial in many sports.
It's important to acknowledge that this is an evolving area of research, and there's ongoing scientific debate about the extent to which these advantages are mitigated by hormone therapy across different sports and individuals. However, the general consensus among many sports scientists is that a biological advantage often remains. So, with these biological considerations in mind, let's turn to the other side of the coin: the arguments for inclusion.
From a human rights perspective, there's a strong argument for including transgender athletes in sports categories that align with their gender identity. Denying participation can have significant negative impacts on their mental health, well-being, and sense of belonging. Sports can be a vital avenue for social connection and personal development for everyone.
Many sports organizations have developed policies to address transgender participation, often focusing on testosterone levels as a criterion for competing in a specific category. For instance, the International Olympic Committee has guidelines that allow transgender women to compete if they meet certain testosterone thresholds for a specified period.
These policies aim to balance inclusion with fairness, but they're often the subject of debate. Transgender athletes navigate these rules, and their experiences can vary widely. Some feel welcomed and supported, while others face scrutiny, skepticism, or outright exclusion, which can be incredibly disheartening.
It's a complex picture, and understanding these lived experiences is crucial. But it also brings us to the core of the fairness concerns for cisgender women. This is where many of the most pointed questions arise. When transgender women, who have gone through male puberty, compete in women's sports, there's a significant concern about whether the competition remains fair for cisgender female athletes. The biological advantages we discussed, bone density, muscle mass, lung capacity, can translate into differences in speed, strength, and endurance.
We've seen instances, particularly in sports like track and field or swimming, where transgender athletes have achieved remarkable success. While their dedication and skill are undeniable, the question remains: is it a fair competition when there might be inherent biological differences at play, even with hormone therapy?
The concept of fair competition is built on the idea that athletes are competing on a level playing field. And for women's sports, that has historically meant sex-based categories to account for average biological differences. When those differences are perceived to be significant, it can create feelings of discouragement and diminished opportunity for cisgender women.
It can feel like an uphill battle for them, potentially impacting their motivation and their belief in the integrity of the competition they're participating in.
Beyond fairness, safety is another paramount concern, especially in sports that involve physical contact or combat. Think about sports like rugby, wrestling, or mixed martial arts. The potential for injury in these disciplines is already high, and adding potential differences in size, strength, and bone density can amplify those risks.
The physics of impact are undeniable. A larger, stronger athlete, even one who has undergone hormone therapy, may still possess structural advantages that could lead to more severe injuries for a smaller, less powerful opponent. This isn't about intent, it's about physical reality.
Different sports have different risk profiles. A runner might not face the same direct physical risks as a boxer. So, how do governing bodies ensure athlete safety across such a diverse range of sports? It requires careful consideration of the specific demands and physical interactions inherent in each discipline.
The ethical responsibility to protect all athletes, particularly those in vulnerable categories, is immense. It's a balancing act between inclusion and the fundamental duty of care.
When we talk about fairness and competitive balance, there's a tangible economic impact on cisgender women athletes. College scholarships are a critical pathway for many aspiring athletes to pursue higher education. If roster spots or championship opportunities are perceived to be disproportionately influenced by factors beyond fair competition, it directly affects these opportunities.
Absolutely. Winning at the high school or collegiate level often dictates recruitment. If a cisgender woman is consistently outperformed by an athlete with potential biological advantages, she might not get noticed by recruiters, leading to lost scholarship opportunities. This can have a ripple effect throughout her academic and athletic career.
It's not just about scholarships. It's about pathways to professional sports, national teams, and even leadership roles within sports organizations. If the pipeline is uneven, it can slow progress in women's sports overall. We need to consider the scale of this. How many potential opportunities might be diminished?
Quantifying it precisely is difficult, but the concern is very real for athletes and their families. It raises questions about the long-term health and equity of women's sports.
So, given these complex issues, what are some potential ways forward? We've heard proposals ranging from maintaining biological sex categories for sports, to creating separate categories, or implementing more sport-specific inclusion criteria that might consider factors beyond just testosterone levels.
Each of these approaches comes with its own set of challenges. Completely separating categories might be seen by some as exclusionary to transgender athletes, while relying solely on hormone therapy might not adequately address the persistent biological advantages for others. Finding a universally accepted solution is incredibly difficult.
The role of ongoing scientific research is crucial here. As we learn more about the long-term effects of hormone therapy and the specific physiological differences that impact performance, policies can become more informed. But policy decisions often have to be made even with incomplete data.
Ultimately, it seems to require a willingness for dialogue and collaboration among all stakeholders: athletes, governing bodies, scientists, and advocacy groups, to find solutions that are as fair and safe as possible for everyone involved.
We've covered a lot of ground today, exploring the biological realities, the arguments for inclusion, and the significant concerns regarding fairness and safety for cisgender women in sports, as well as the impact on their opportunities. It's clear there are no easy answers.
The challenge lies in finding a path that respects the rights and well-being of transgender athletes, while also upholding the principles of fair competition and ensuring the safety of cisgender female athletes. It's about recognizing the validity of all these concerns.
We hope this discussion has provided a more nuanced understanding of this complex issue. It's vital to approach these conversations with empathy, a commitment to evidence, and a genuine desire for equitable solutions in sports. We encourage you to continue learning and engaging with this topic respectfully. You can find links to further reading and resources in our show notes. Thank you for joining us on the Athletic Arena.